Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be doing a review of Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. So if you watched last week's video, then you know that I did a review of Super Mario RPG, the remake that was recently released, the remake of course, the Super Nintendo game. Well, here's a little different. This is Paper Mario, which was released in 2001 for the Nintendo 64 by Intelligent Systems, who is also known for making game franchises such as Fire Emblem or even WarioWare. So they're pretty well known in the gaming, or at least the Nintendo sphere of gaming. And this game, it's almost like a sequel to Super Mario RPG. It doesn't have Square working on it like the original Super Mario RPG did, but it definitely borrows a lot of ideas from that game, which, well, we'll get to in this review. But yeah, so Paper Mario, I played it on the Nintendo Switch Online, Nintendo 64 part of the expansion pass, which was really nice, since I don't have access to the original cartridge for the game. So it's really nice to have access to that. I mean, I might as well just let you know my experience with the Paper Mario franchise specifically. I was first really introduced to it through, I think, either Nintendo Power or Game Informer magazine that was talking about Sticker Star, of all games, and so that kind of introduced me to it. And then I looked more into it at some of the other games and realized that the first two were easily the best. And I have played, of course, this one, and I'm really hoping to play Thousand Year Door when that releases for the Switch. So I'm really excited for that. But yeah, basically, this franchise, it's very interesting. It's like, out of all the Mario RPGs, this is the one that's the most experimental and different, although I think the first two titles, which are the best in my opinion, are a bit closer to your traditional RPG, which we'll see here. Just like in my Super Mario RPG review, I'm going to start off with the story. Right off the bat, the story in Paper Mario is slightly less unique, you could say, than the story in Super Mario RPG. Bowser's the bad guy, and, you know, it takes place in a very cool version of the Mushroom Kingdom, but one that is still a bit more familiar than the one in Mario RPG. So when it comes to story, it's definitely not crazy, but similarly to Super Mario RPG, each little segment, I think they're called chapters in this game, they each have their own little sub-story. You know, there's some that stick out to me, like in the haunted forest world, you got the guy who's eating the booze, and then in the ice world, you have an entire murder mystery part. Like, things like that, I really enjoy. They add just so much charm to this game, and make it so not only do you have fun and engaging combat, which I'll get to soon enough, but you also have a simple but still decent story. I also think that the stars, the 7 star spirits, are cool characters. I was introduced to them via Mario Party 5, but this is the game they actually were introduced in, and I think they're just a clever idea. And I like how in the combat they each give you little abilities, but you know, it's cool. One thing that really makes the Paper Mario world so awesome is that, like, Mario enemies, you know, like Koopas, Goombas, etc., they're viewed they're like average citizens for the most part, and then you just have some that work for Bowser. I think that's really cool. You see, because instead of just having Toads, you have, you know, Toads, Koopas, Goombas, Paratroopas, Bob-ombs, you know, and all these different creatures and Mario enemies. And not only are they just presented as being your average people and not just some goons for Bowser, but also you can have them even accompany you as partners in this game, and it just is a really cool concept that I like about the Paper Mario franchise. Moving on to the gameplay of this game, I think that just like Super Mario RPG, this game is great for beginners. This was, I think this qualifies as the first Mario RPG I've technically beaten, which is crazy because I'm a fan of Mario RPGs. I've watched a ton of them, but it wasn't until recently when I actually played through one from start to finish, and that was Paper Mario, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that difficulty-wise, this is a near perfect difficulty when it comes to this kind of beginner level. But like Super Mario RPG, for instance, I said it was a little too easy at times. There wasn't quite enough challenge in some of the segments. However, I feel like that's not quite a problem here. I mean, it's still easy, but I think there's just enough challenge there to make each chapter like engaging in a challenge, and you're just excited to get through it. I know that this game, maybe even more so than Super Mario RPG, I just had a really fun time getting through. It didn't feel like a slog or a chore at any point. I just each world was so different and unique that I was excited to see what the next world brought and what battles and concepts display themselves here in this game. Some other things it brings back from Mario RPG though are the leveling system. It's very similar. It's still 3 categories. It's just they switch attack with badges, I believe. And so yeah, it's very similar to Mario RPG in terms of leveling, and also this brings back the awesome action commands. Action commands, they're just such a great part of Mario RPGs, and they're an aspect that help make turn-based RPGs just more interesting and engaging for the player. I've heard that Sea of Stars, a game released last year, actually features some of that Mario RPG-like combat as well. And that's definitely a game that I want to try to play at some point, and just check that out. But back on topic of Paper Mario, it has the system of action commands from Mario RPG, and I think it does it just as well. Very similar, but also, it's still different enough. And speaking of differences from Super Mario RPG, this game, instead of having a party of 3 people, you have Mario, and then you have one partner you can choose, and you can swap partners outside of battle, inside of battle, and each partner has some different abilities, whether it be attacks or abilities that help defend you or buff you or whatever it may be. The partner system is really cool, and then you could even level up your partners using specific orbs that you can find throughout the puzzles of this game. And I think that is just a really cool system, and you definitely, as you play through the game, you learn which heroes are the best for which situations. Like, I remember I used Lady Bow a ton, especially for heavy combat situations, but then towards the end, when there was a lot of defense on the enemies, Watt was really good for demeaning all defense and things like that. There's just so many cool aspects added in via partners, and it's really sad that they basically took them out, starting with, I think, Sticker Star, and that's a whole nother conversation. But partner system is great, and I like how, again, they have their own characters, their own little personalities, and from what I've seen of Thousand Year Door, the partners are even improved in that game, and I'm excited to check that out when that game releases. Lastly, this wouldn't be a Paper Mario game if it didn't have the paper aesthetic. Those visuals that looks like a storybook, and I think the visuals in this game are great because it's N64, but because of the paper look to it, it actually looks pretty timeless. It's not like not Mario RPG. Super Mario 64, I do love the game, don't get me wrong, but yeah, the graphics are a bit dated. I mean, you can easily tell that. But when it comes to Paper Mario, it looks timeless because the paper aesthetic doesn't demand that much of the console, and so it just melds together really well. and I really like the graphics on this. Definitely one of my favorite looking N64 games that there is. I really enjoy the look of this Paper Mario game, and I like that it doesn't go crazy overboard. I mean, I feel like some of the newer entries go full on paper, and that's still cool in its own right, but I like how this is more of a mix of like traditional backgrounds but also paper aspects. It's just a good mix that they have in this game and in the next game as well. But nothing much else to say about that. I do really like the paper aesthetic. Well, there you have it. There's my review of Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. I hope you enjoyed this review. I enjoyed the game a lot. It's definitely a game I recommend greatly. I think, let's see, I gave Super Mario RPG, I think, an 8 or an 8.5. So this, I think this might be controversial, but I actually am going to give Paper Mario 64, let's say, I'll give this game an 8.5 if I gave Super Mario RPG an 8. Because this game, I just like just ever so slightly more than Super Mario RPG. And I had a blast playing this game. I could play it again right now, but I'm trying to, play through other games and try to increase my amount of games that I've actually beaten, or at least played a decent amount of. So, again, but yeah, I do really like Paper Mario. Recommend it completely. If you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass and you haven't played this yet, go play it. It's just a really fun RPG, and especially if you're a beginner to RPGs, it's a great starting point, along with Super Mario RPG. Well, with all that being said, thank you all for watching, and see you next time.